Hey, and what is up? Welcome to Thursday's episode of our Mystic Road Trip. And this is the episode where we concentrate solely on tarot. If you're into other stuff, make sure you check out my Monday episode because that's where everything else will be. As always, my name is Kim. I am your host. I am an astrologer, a tarot reader, a spiritual wellness coach, and a guided meditation, as well as a writer. And I love this shit. That's what I'll just say. I love this shit. I love everything about it. It makes me happy. It interests me. It intrigues me. It challenges me. Everything is great. This is our Mystic Road Trip. This is a podcast that I created because I am on a Mystic Road Trip, and my calling in life is to learn stuff and share stuff. So I thought, what better way to do it than a podcast, right? So I learn new things and I share all the information I get from you, or I share most of it, because honestly I try to keep these episodes between 30 and 40 minutes because I know you guys, I value your guys' time, and I know you got a lot going on, and I know you don't have time for a 2-hour podcast. Trust me, I do listen to some podcasts that are like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and you know, they're great, but I do know that most people don't have enough time to just chill like that. So that's why I do it. So I give you good ideas, and then you can take them forth and do with what you will. Hopefully they help you on your Mystic Road Trip. And yeah, that's it. As I said, today is Thursday. That means today is Tarot. Thursdays are all about tarot. I take one card a week and I deep dive into it, and we really get into some spiritual aspects. If that sounds cool to you, then welcome. Hey, what's up? You know, before we jump into this week's card, which is the Nine of Swords, we're going to do some housekeeping and shameless plugging. So let's get to that. If you would like to reach out to me, you can do that. I have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, social media galore. If you're not into social media, kudos to you. I also give you an email, so you can shoot me an email if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just want to chit chat, whatever. You know, any ideas for topics, or you want to do a deep dive into something I've already talked about, awesome possum, you know. If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Interact with the audio or video as much as you possibly can, so the algorithms of those platforms, whether that be YouTube or Spotify, get the idea that people are interested, and then push me out, and we can start to build this community, because that's what I really would like to do, is build a community where we all help each other grow on our Mystic Road Trip, and we can have some good conversations and be there for people, maybe create a connection, and maybe if all of us can do that, we can raise the collective consciousness, and maybe the world's garbage fire could be put out. Just my opinion. Anyways, if you would like to know about this and so much more, make sure you check out my Medium publication. If you are into women and feminism and all that kind of good history, then you should check out my other podcast. It's called Where All the Ladies At. And that's it for the shameless plugging and housekeeping. So now we can get started with the Nine of Swords. All right, Nine of Swords. Woo! Let's talk about it, shall we? All right, so. Oh, let's talk about this. All right, so. Before we jump in, any imagery I discuss is going to be in reference to the traditional deck. I know there's billions of decks out there, but the imagery I'm talking about in this case is the one of the traditional. When it comes to reading it, I am discussing the traditional way to read reverse, not the way I know some people read it. I don't even read it the traditional way. Yes, so just as a PSA, let's get started. So you're going to picture this, a solitary figure jolts awake in bed, their face buried in their hands. Above them, 9 swords hang neatly on the darkened wall. There's no blood, there's no chaos, just sharp, silent witnesses, right? The bedding is etched with roses and astrological symbols, and that is meant to remind us that even in despair, beauty and mystery still persist, right? But it's the raw gesture on the person's face in their hands, right? That really is the essence of this card. It's emotional overload. It's mental suffering. It's spiritual fatigue. This isn't only about a sleepless night. It's more of like a reckoning, right? So if we look at this, each sword is a thought, right? One you've tried to push aside, one you've replayed too many times, one that's disguised as doubt or shame or regret. And the fact they hang above this figure suggests their thoughts aren't attacking anymore. They're just suspended there. They're floating in memory, right? Or imagination. Sorry, my nose is itching, guys. My cat's shedding. It's that time. This is not an act of violence, but the memory of it, right? Or the fear of it returning. This is like overthinking. This is like, replaying things and sometimes playing that what if game too can be in there. The darkness of the room really kind of symbolizes the unconscious mind and the shadows we hide from others and sometimes even ourselves, to be truthful. The figure is awake though, and that's important because this is not the oblivion of sleep. It's the burden of awareness, right? It's yes, but it's a conscious yes. You can't change what you're unaware of, right? So in this light, the Nine of Swords becomes a symbol of kind of this threshold between suffering and healing. It's the moment you realize that your fear has shape, right? And anything with a shape can be studied, understood, and defeated, or in this case, released, right? And that's kind of what the symbology and the card is overall saying, right? Now, if we look at the numerology, right, it's the 9 card. In tarot numerology, 9 is kind of a spiritual pivotal point. Oh, shoot, I gotta stop doing that. Sorry, guys, my tattoo is itching, and I'm just scratching it without thinking. We can talk while I do this. It's not just an ending. It's like this moment. It's the moment of like before rebirth. My cat is crazy. The storm before everything is quiet, right? It's like the last stop before full transformation is what I would describe it as. Hold on. Okay. Now we're good. Whew. All right. So it's the card is not about external drama. Instead, it kind of talks about what happens when we're spiritually, mentally, emotionally maxed out. The number 9 in this context is culmination, consequences, sometimes a silence that comes when clarity arrives, right? It isn't the tower's thunderous fall of devil's binding chains. It's what we do with our own mind once the dust is settled, right? And that can be the hardest part. I think the hardest step to take is the one after you realize you need to take it. If that makes sense, right? You've had these dark times, you've overthought things, maybe you've made some bad choices, and it's caused you to kind of lose sleep and beat yourself up, and now you've wakened from the dream and you realize that you can like try to figure out what's going on, but then you have to take the step, and that sometimes is the hardest step, I think. Maybe that's just for me, but I that's the way I kind of see it. Now, if we're looking at the elements, it's swords. So of course it's air, right? Language, breath, belief systems. The sword suit is like air's kind of like playground, right? 9, the swords though, is kind of saying that the airs kind of become thin. And things aren't flowing away. They're just kind of swirling, right? Obsessively, repetitively, destructively sometimes. Air is that ability to like be kind of neutral. Either it can like soar or it can leave you gasping. It's that, right? So the Nine of Swords is a warning and a promise. So if you're willing to face the mental clutter, you can really clear the space and make things lighter and truer and more open. I think I'm in the shot. Anyways, so let's look at astrology and planetary connections. The Nine of Swords corresponds to Mars in Gemini. And this is not a chill combo, right? So if you just take that, Mars is kind of this raw force, ambition, aggression, survival instinct, right? It's the planet of war. It wants action and resolution and closure. Then if you toss in Gemini, right, those are thoughts, words, ideas, endless curiosity, and you get kind of this mental wildfire. Mars doesn't slow down to check if your thoughts are helpful or harmful. It just fuels whatever is already burning. And so in the Nine of Swords, Mars and Gemini kind of manifest as mental overdrive, right? Racing thoughts, arguments you have with yourself in the shower, doom scrolling for your own mistakes. This placement creates this urgency in the mind that you need to do something with every single thought, even if something is spiraling. But there's a spiritual invitation here too. You know, Mars wants action, Gemini wants expression. So this card could say you need to do something constructive with the chaos, right? Journal it, speak it out loud, meditate on it, share it with someone you trust, write a song. Mars in Gemini really is an inner warrior. It really allows you to be an inner warrior when you give your thoughts a healthy outlet. So like I said, you know, meditate, speak it out loud, journal it, write a song, write a poem, you know, go to act it out, whatever it is, do something creative, right? If you leave it unchecked, it's emotional burnout, right? But if you engage with it intentionally and utilize the energies of the two forces, you can forge, it's really just, you could just forge so much out of it, right? So now that we know that, let's take a look. We know what it means upright, right? Anxiety, dread, guilt, rumination, 3 a.m. panic attack. Your mind is spiraling, but now it's time to look at why. And that's kind of what this card is saying. So what I would like you guys all to realize is that though there are some cards that do have some negative connotations, all these cards, like with everything else, is really just inviting you to look at things, right? And sometimes the universe is going to do it the easy way, and sometimes it's going to do the hard way. And sometimes, nope, 99% of the time, the choice of whether it's the easy way or the hard way is yours, right? So the Nine of Swords can't be bypassed. You have to acknowledge the emotional wounds behind what you're thinking, right? What are the regrets? What fears are you feeding? You are not alone, though, as long as you can reach out and speak it. You know, it's that one of the reasons, and I want you to bear in mind, I'm not a Catholic, I'm not Christian, I'm not, right? But I have read and I've done a lot of things. And one of the reasons in the exorcism rituals, they always want to know the demon's name, is because if you can speak the name, if you know the name, then you can know its weakness, right? So naming that demon allows you power over it, right? It's the same thing with fears and anxieties and regrets. Naming it and knowing why and what it is allows you to be able to work through it. You may not be able to defeat it in that moment, but you can start disarming it and making it easier for you. Now, if we look at the reverse meaning, hold on, let me get a drink. Hello, little one. If you get this in reversed, it's kind of like seeing a silver lining or even like a sliver light through blackout curtains, right? The weight's not gone. The fears aren't gone. I'm sorry if my phone is shaking, but that was my cat. I think I need to put her on a diet. No, my table's just wobbly. That's just the truth. She's going to do something crazy here in a minute, though. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, we'll wait for it to stop shaking. There we go. All right, so when in reverse, it's like there's like a little sliver, right? The weight isn't gone. Like it's still there, but things are shifting, right? The reverse just like, hey, what are you doing, crazy girl? Get down from there. What is up with you? She's gone crazy. It's kind of a sign of relief and release, and like you're slowly starting to untangle things, right? Maybe you've finally figured out the source of that anxiety. Maybe you're forgiving yourself. Maybe you're letting go of all those mental do's and don'ts, right? Maybe you realize the nightmare is not reality. Whatever the case is, there's a gentle but like powerful kind of little thing. You've made it through the night. You can keep going. You know, it's basically in reverse. It's kind of like a sign that you're kind of beginning to integrate what was once unbearable, and you're not escaping the work, you're evolving through it. So reversed is actually a pretty good way to get this card. If we look at crystals, herbs, deities, and colors, I've got several ideas. Hold on a second while I tell my cat she's crazy. Back to it. When the Nine of Swords is there, it's not really just wanting to drop things off, right? You can use things, allies, spiritual reinforcements, all that kind of stuff to help you out. So let's start. So for crystals, I chose 3. And each one of them for a different reason, right? So amethyst is like the peaceful mind, right? It's psychic exhale. It helps you soften racing thoughts and reconnect with the spiritual world. It kind of bridges the crown chakra, and it's really helping you remember that you're more than your anxiety, right? Another good one would be lepidolite. I can never say this right. Lepidolite. And this contains actual natural lithium. That's the stuff that anti-anxiety meds are made of. So it's a gentle friend that says, you know, we can cry it out and we can rest then. And you can use it during meditation or sleep rituals to kind of balance your emotional body. Another good one would be black tourmaline. This is like an energetic bouncer, right? It protects, but it like transmutes those negative thought patterns too, right? So it's when you're battling internal criticism or intrusive thoughts, this is a great stone to have on hand, right? Now, if we're going to go for herbs, these are all going to be pretty traditional herbs, right? Chamomile, right? It's the nervous system whisperer. You can drink it as tea, place it in a sleeping sachet, whatever. It's very helpful when your inner dialogue won't just shut up, right? When you're having times, and we all have those moments, I'm sure. Lavender, for a classic, right? It's emotional clarity. It helps calm the spirit. You can use an oil diffusers or ritual baths or under your pillow, whatever works for you. Another good one is valerian root. This is a little bit more potent, and it's really for someone who's like a heavy hitter for sure. If you can't get your voice to shut up in your head, it offers a sedative and could be used with intention. So sleep teas, dream work rituals, things like that, this would be okay. Once again, valerian root is more of a heavy aspect. And I will say all these herbs that I offer, make sure you check with your physician if you're taking any medication, because sometimes they may interact with each other, especially valerian root. All right, let's go deities. So we got one that came to mind. And remember, these deities, I choose the one that sounds right to me. It's not even one that's in my path, but you can find correlative gods and goddesses in those paths. So I chose Selene, and that's the Greek goddess of the moon. She really governs the night. You know, if you're trying to face your fears, calling on her, invoking her is great. She can help you illuminate your path, right? It could be very good, especially when dealing with the energy of the Nine of Swords. Color-wise, deep indigo or soft silver. You know, indigo is the color of the third eye, intuition, shadow work. You can candle, cloth, anything like that would work out. Why it's especially good during mental fog times. Soft silver, this is reflective and subtle, right? And that's moon's light, right? It's not harsh or demanding. It's kind of soothes and guides. Those both would be great colors. And so finally, let's talk about how you incorporate it into daily mindfulness. Now, here's the thing. If you've drawn it, there's a couple of things you can do. So the first thing I would say is morning journaling. If you name it to tame it kind of idea, right? Brain dump, list your worries, your irrational ones, just kind of get them out of your head and onto paper, and that can kind of give you perspective, right? It's not really like you're not trying to solve the problems. It's really just about being able to identify them, right? Write them, bless them, and then try to move forward with clean energy, right? You can also do an evening reflection session. Woo! So just take 5 minutes before bed to kind of list things you're grateful for. Even if it's just your cat is crazy, one of the quickest ways to pivot your brain out of fear and peace is gratitude. So you could do mindfulness meditation, sit in silence for 5 to 10 minutes, focusing only on your breath. And when the thoughts come in, and they will, because that's just how it is, you return your thoughts back to the breathing process, right? And this helps your brain to learn that not every thought deserves a response. And that can be very challenging for the brain to learn, right? You can do affirmations. That's always good, right? Try to do ones that stem from core wounds like shame, fear, regret. I release what I cannot control, such like that kind of thing. And I would say do those, keep one with you, and then when you start to feel it coming on, take 1 minute, take some breaths. I like box breathing, so in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, and return to this and repeat this. Peace begins within me. Whatever you've chosen, it'll work out well for you. I also say, I'm a big proponent of spiritual stuff, but in the end, if you're having a lot of problems, and the 9 of Swords would indicate that you probably are having some issues, seeking support is not a bad thing. That could be just simply talking to a friend, or seeing a therapist, or maybe looking for a spiritual guide, whatever it is, do something that connects you back to the world. Because the truth is, guys, that healing rarely happens alone. Rarely. We are not a solitary animal. We are a herd animal in some aspects. We're a tribal society, tribal creature. So sometimes we need help from other people. The 9 of Swords is not here to punish us, but it is here to point out that there's the thoughts and things have been kind of running the show, and so that you might need to have an outside source listen to you, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. And that's it for the 9 of Swords, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, here's the thing. The 9 of Swords is daunting. It's a powerful teacher. It wants us to confront our inner fears, but the darkest nights often lead to the brightest days, right? And I know that's so cliche, and sometimes people don't want to hear it, but unfortunately, it's true. And that is it for the 9 of Swords, guys. Whatever whatever you think, whatever you do, just know it's good. You're almost to the end of this hero's journey, right? Next week we do 10. We only got 4 more cards to go in this suit, and that's the end of this portion of the hero's journey, and we'll start another one after that, right? As always, like I said, if you want to reach out to me, you can do that. You want to support the podcast, like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. Or if you want to kick cash my way, there's ways to do that as well. If you want more information on this and so much more, make sure you check out the Medium publication. And if you're into women, history, and feminism, check out my other podcast called Where All the Ladies At. That's it for this week, guys. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay curious. Crazy girl.